Oh, well, hello there, my darlings, and welcome back to another little episode of the Warframes. And today, as you can see, we are having a quick look at the Simulacrum. Now, I call it the Simulacrum. If you call it the Simulacrum, then you know, potato, potato. That's not even right, is it? It's tomato, tomato. But like each to their own. That's how it trips off my tongue, and that's what we're going to stick with in this video. And if it does your head in, then I can only apologise. However, let's have a look at the Simulacrum. Where do you get it? What's it for? How do you use it? The reason I'm focusing in on it at the moment is because I've never really used it before, and I realised all too late I should have been doing some prep for it. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first things first, where do we get this Simulacrum access? Now you need to buy a key from one of the Syndicate folks, and his name is Cephalon Simaris. Now you need to do the new Strange to get access to Cephalon Simaris fully in the game. That's a little quest for you to do. And then you come to literally any relay, and you can fast travel to Cephalon Simaris, or you can, as I like to call it, Shanks' pony away here. And here we are in his sanctuary. Now, even though he's a Syndicate, you don't need to rank up with him. I have done a whole separate Cephalon Simaris video if you want to go and check that out to find out how you do earn standing with him, because that's all you need to do here. Some of the wares that he sells you will unlock as you go through the game in certain quests, but as you can see, what we're interested in here is the Simulacrum access key. There are so many other things here, mods, the synthesis scanner, the widgets that go with it, etc. We'll talk about that in a moment. But there you go, Simulacrum access key for 50,000 standing, and it's there for you from the get-go if you can earn that standing and buy it and get access to it. And the Simulacrum entry itself is over to the left here. As you come through the door, it's to the left, and I can't tell you how many times I've walked past it and not realised it was there, not realised it was a thing in the game at all. And even though the Simulacrum does the same thing, I just want to talk briefly about the fact that there are 10 to collect. Let's have a look at the different ones that you can collect. They're just tile sets, essentially. The first one is the default one, and that is the Citadel. So you'll get this when you buy the Simulacrum access key from Cephalon. Next one is the Ballroom, which you can get from limited in-game events. There is a wiki page that will tell you what those events are. And the following is the Sanctum, and you can get that from Lloyd at the Sanctum Anatomica, actual human Lloyd. The next one is the Ambulus Arena, and you can buy this from the Parent Sequence Syndicate. And then we have the Moonlit Courtyard, which you can buy from the New Loka Syndicate. And we have the Red Veil Temple scene, bought from, can you guess, the Red Veil Syndicate. And then you have the Zanuka Arena, bought from the Arbiters of Hexus Syndicate. The Orokin Derelict scene, bought from Cephalon Suda, not Cephalon Simaris. The Grineer Asteroid scene, bought from Steel Meridian Syndicate. And finally, the Oro Worm Arena, bought from Akrithis, I believe that name is right, from the Duviri. And let's take a quick look at the Syndicate, shall we? I'm ranked up with Arbiters of Hexus and Cephalon Suda right now. There is a way of balancing them. I'm going to do a separate video on the Syndicates. But as you can see, it's the final rank for like Simulacrums and Capturers and emotes and things like that. And once you're ranked up, your daily standing cap will impact how quickly you can earn standing. I've got a 32,000 daily standing cap, so it doesn't take me too long to earn enough standing to buy these things. As you can see, I bought the Simulacrum right now and I've already used it. So this is where you would come. And like I said, I will do another video on Syndicates to see if there's a way of balancing all 6 of them, because there are a lot of offerings. The other thing I should mention is these are tradable, so somebody could trade this Simulacrum to you if you so wanted it. Now, the most important thing about the Simulacrum is it's basically creating mimeographs or mimeographs, copies of enemies for you to practice your builds on. That's essentially what the Simulacrum is for. And to populate it, you need to have scanned these enemies. So this is the thing that I got caught off guard with, scanning the enemies. I just thought they'd be in there. No. You have to manually scan them yourself, or you can employ some equipment within the game to do it sort of passively for you. Either way, you're going to need some scans. That will involve either having codex scans, which you can buy 25 a pop for like 500 creds, so 25 scans per 500 creds, and you must equip that to your gear wheel and use it yourself, or you can have the synthesis scanner from Cephalon Simaris, which you can buy a widget for eventually once you've earned enough standing. And that soul widget, I think it basically makes those charges recharge, so you never have to buy any more scans. It takes a while to get to that point, and again, it has to be on your gear wheel to be used by yourself or by a certain piece of equipment. Now, there are weapons like the Helios that you can get from Syndicates that when you heavy slam attack and kill, it will scan an enemy for you. That seems, quite irksome. or you can go and get yourself a companion that'll do it for you, and that companion is called Helios. Now I have a Helios Prime, but you can get Helios from your friendly clan dojo, more specifically from the Energy Lab, as you can see. And if you head to the companion tab, it should be researched in there. It costs 15,000 credits to buy, and you're going to need a former to build it, among other things, field runs, etc, etc. But it's a really good companion to have, and the Helios comes with a Precept mod, and it is that Precept mod that we're interested in, because that is going to command it to scan targets for you kind of passively as you go through missions and start collecting your Simulacrum mimeographs. So let's have a quick look over at my Helios. I actually have a Helios Prime now because I managed to get one, but the Helios will work just fine with this Precept mod, and as you can see, there it is. In my companions, you have to equip it like you would with any companion, and this is my configuration at the moment. I kind of wanted it to not be too powerful, like I don't want it to kill enemies, so I'd had a look at the mod and took anything out on low levels that might kill the enemies before I get to scan it. And the thing with the scans is that one scan isn't enough to unlock that enemy in your Simulacrum. It will have to do multiples. Now, as long as you have a codex scanner or your synthesis scanner and available scans equipped to your gear wheel, this Helios will just carry on scanning things for you, and it will make like a little beeping noise within the mission, and you'll see things glowing or highlighting in red, and that's because it's busy at work. It's trying to scan stuff for you. It's doing all the hard graft for you, and what's not to like about that, right? And here's an example of my Helios in action. I've gone to the steel path just because I can, you don't have to, and I'm doing an exterminate. And basically, if your Helios isn't making noises like that, it just means it's kind of done scanning all the enemies repeatedly, and it will scan them repeatedly for you. It'll stop, it'll know when it's done enough. And as you can see, I'm slowing my enemies down with Lieutenant Galaxian. And it's also giving me a visual cue here. They're glowing red. These are the ones it hasn't scanned enough of. So that's why I'm holding off killing them. I'm just slowing them down with my Lieutenant Galaxian because it has innate cold damage. I think you can do it without slowing them down. I think it makes it a bit easier. I don't know. I just did it out of instinct, and then I will kill everything after I feel like it's done all its scans. And I specifically went to this mission to do this. I went solo because obviously if I go in a squad, they're just going to muller everything, and potentially I won't have time, my Helios won't have time to scan stuff. So there you go, that's the scanning in action. You get like a visual cue and a sound cue. And the whole reason I started focusing on the Simulacrum is because I was working on this Gyre build for my Gyre video, and I needed a better melee. I mentioned in the video, don't worry about the melee, but I needed a better melee. And the Glaive Prime came up, so I started thinking, well, I want to test it before I go into mission. So I started coming to the Simulacrum and realising just how behind I was, and this is how I got into the Helios. I started doing missions scanning for enemies, and as you can see, I've bought some Simulacrum tile sets now because I was more aware of them. I wanted a bit of a change. Now, the Simulacrum can be scaled up enemy wise, as in how tough they are, their armor, etc., based on you and your MR. So now I'm MR 32, so I can get my enemies up pretty much to, I think, level 215. Now the Simulacrum, I think you can invite other people to use it if you're the host. I think they can come and practice on higher level enemies if you have access to them. I haven't actually trialed that yet, but I'm sure I will. And as you can see across the top here, we have different tabs with different types of enemies. And that's important because when you're testing out builds, obviously, as we all know, different types of enemies are susceptible to different types of damage, whether it be status, crit, pure damage, etc, etc. And it's just good to come here and trial and error it. And you have these options to the right here, the steel path, friendly fire, companion invincibility, your invincibility. It just makes you invulnerable if you're just trying to test out builds and damage, not actually whether you're taking damage or not. The reason that's there is because you might want to test how much damage you can take. You know, you might be doing a defensive build or some other kind of focus that you've got going on at that point. And you might have like a little squad of 2 people. You might want to invite your other person and see if you can support each other well against certain enemies. That might be another option to use the Simulacrum for if you have a little friend in Warframe. And as you can see, I didn't pop any abilities here. I just wanted to see what the Glaive was doing and how Gyre coped with these very high level enemies. It took a moment, but she did go down like a sack of spuds. And when you res in here, in the Simulacrum, it just respawns you and you start afresh. But there's endless energy orbs, endless health orbs. You know, there's access to your arsenal here. We'll have a look at that in a second. There's endless ammo. So it's, and the enemies do drop some stuff as well. It's not a loot place. You don't come here to loot. You come here to practice, just to see how your builds are working in conjunction with each other. You know, understanding that relationship. And as you can see, there's a kill enemy option here. So if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed and you just can't kill the enemies and it's doing your head in, go back to your little point there and just click the kill enemies and it'll wipe them off the map wherever you are for you, and you can restart again. And I continued. I started working, I think I chose the Zanuka here, and I started working on sentient killing because I couldn't kill them at this high level, so I had to take it down a notch to like 190 I think I went for. And I started using Frost for armor stripping, and it was okay. I mean, I've brought the Orokin group in just to see how well he does at surviving. I've got my Kuva Brahm. This just happened to be in my arsenal and I was having a look at builds and things, so I thought I'll just give it a go because this was a specifically going to be an armor stripping build, but I sort of stopped working on it. And then he struggled against the Sentients, as they all did. I tried Hildryn. I eventually tried Protea, but accidentally landed on a really good one that was just in my inventory. Gave it a go, and we shall have a look at that now. And here you'll see me in my arsenal, fiddling around with my mods. So it's really good, like if you're a mathematician and you know all about your mods, you can come here and flip one out, flip one in, and just see, test it again, see if it works, see if those red crits start coming up or things start melting in front of you. And if it's worse, then, you know, go back to where you're at. And as you can see, I'm just having a little go with Protea because she is awesome. I did put, I think it was Hydroid's ability on her, and that was at the advice of somebody on my Discord, Rage. He was building like almost like a toxic build for her, and it kind of does quite well against certain enemies. But again, I was struggling with the sentient battle. I became mildly obsessed with these battle groups, very high level. I don't know why. I don't really need it right now, but this is what happens in this game, is it not? You just get totally distracted. But look how like satisfying it is watching those numbers come up. Even if they're not all red crits and orange, like it's just something very satisfying, you know. And it starts to sort of teach you the relationship between your mods, your Warframe builds, your weapon builds, and the enemies and the different enemy types. And this is what I shall be doing moving forward a little. Obviously, I don't want to spend hours and hours in here, but I know that people do, and they create spreadsheets and they create mod configurations that are like elite, amazing. And again, it will depend on your playstyle as well. I should say that, like, everybody's got a different playstyle. You know, there is a meta way of doing everything, but there's also like a fun way of doing things. And we'll just cut it off there where she went down like a sack of spuds eventually, like they all did on me. I'm terrible. I know, I need to work on my survivability. However, I came back to my arsenal and thought, well, I need somebody tough against the Sentient, so Revenant came to mind. And I didn't tweak his build or anything. I didn't tweak the weapons. I just used my Exceltra Prime and one of my Laetum builds. And it was at this point I was like, oh yeah, I forgot how good the Laetum is against Sentients. I don't know why. It doesn't one-shot them, but we're talking, this is like 190, and it did okay. Now these are the Murmur enemies, the battle group, and I just went to town using different abilities just to see what does and doesn't work. Obviously, certain Warframes and certain builds and certain weapons are going to do much better against certain enemies. And you can have, this is why you have different mod configurations. You can name your mod configurations. The only restrictive thing is, say you have this Warframe and you've formatted it up a specific way. No matter which configuration you're using, that former mod configuration will always remain. So it gets to the point where it's kind of like you need a general build, you need specific builds, but then if you want to get really pedantic about it, you could just build another Warframe and have a totally different former configuration for totally different types of enemies or much higher level stuff. But you know, because what the thing I've noticed is that if you have like Steel Path builds, it's really hard for some Warframes and some builds to go back down to lower level if you want to help other people. Gyre is a perfect example of that. She needs a lot of enemies and she needs them kind of to be high level as well. And I realised whilst playing here that the Laetum is really good against the Sentient, so I used this Orokin battle group to get my headshots up, and then I went and spawned in the Sentient. So let's have a look, see how that goes. So there you go, that was just me using my Simulacrum, and we'll see you out with some... Oh my god, Frost not doing very well. It's all me, don't worry about it. It's nothing to do with the Warframes or the builds. It's just me not doing it right, but I'm learning. Okay, guys, I'm learning. Slowly, catchy monkey, as they say. In the meantime, I'm going to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching this little episode. I hope it helps you in some kind of way. There's probably some information I've missed. There always is, but I'm hoping this will get your... interest peaked anyway, and you can always go and find the rest of that information from the wiki pages. They are very useful, or in the comments, or just come and find me in my Discord, and there are just a bunch of very helpful, kind-hearted, sometimes grumpy folks. Joking, I love you all. It's just Warframe can be a bit of a grind sometimes, and life can be as well, and the Discord is there to pick you up, dust you off, and get you back in, whether it be the real life grind or the Warframe grind or just gaming in general. My darlings, we're there to have fun. So come and join us. The link is on my YouTube channel homepage, and or come and find me in game Warframe, or come and find me in the comments on any of my videos. I'm always paying attention to my notifications. And that being said, thank you for anybody who has liked, subscribed, and or commented on any of my videos. You are the people that are pushing that algorithm forward for me, and I cannot be more grateful to you for that interaction. It's such a little thing to do for a YouTube content creator, but it makes a huge difference. So my darlings, with that being said, thank you for joining me. I really do hope to see you again in the next one, no matter what that may be. But in the meantime, you take care now, and goodbye.